So let's take a look at a quick example of conditional releases. First, we'll look at it from the instructor side and review setting them up, and then we'll look at it from the student side so we can see how they work through the releases. So in this example, I've set up a module and I've provided them with a case study. I've also given them instructions that once they read the case study, they'll use the checklist to choose their diagnosis. So I've included a checklist here. And for our purposes, we have two possible diagnoses, A and B. So let's check out diagnosis A. Diagnosis A. So the first thing we want to do is set up a release condition based on the students choosing diagnosis A in the checklist. So to set up a release condition, we'll head to Add Dates and Restrictions, and then we'll create a release condition. For condition type, we'll do completed checklist item, but you'll notice that there are many other options for conditional releases. Next, we'll select our checklist, and then we'll choose the item. Press Update, and now students will only be able to access this module if they complete the checklist item. Click here if you choose A. I've also added a discussion post. So here we have the same exact conditional release that students can only access this discussion thread or topic and start a thread if they choose diagnosis A. This is great because this means that students will be able to collaborate as they choose the same learning paths. We can also see that I have created an assignment. Notice though that there's no conditional release on it, so let's go ahead and set one up. Edit properties in place, and then add dates and restrictions. Now say for the assignment we want them to have participated in the discussion first. So let's create a different conditional release that's based on discussion completion. So for release conditions, we'll select Create. We'll scroll to Discussions, and we'll say Posts Authored in Topic. Let's select our discussion, which for us is diagnosis A. We want them to make at least one post, and we're only going to count the new threads. Create. And update. Now students will have access to this assignment once they have completed this discussion, and they'll only have access to this discussion once they've chosen A on the checklist. So let's check out our diagnosis B. So again, we want to add a release condition that they choose the checklist item of B. So checklist, completed checklist item. We'll select our checklist, and then B. Our discussion board has been set up the same. Now let's go ahead and set up our assignment so that you have to post to the discussion board first. Add dates and restrictions. Create. Post authored in topic. We'll choose our topic, and we want them to create one post. Now let's check this out from the student perspective. Alright, so here's our module. Now, as an instructor, we could see all of the submodules we had nested under. But as a student, all I can see is my case study and then my checklist. I'll open the checklist. And after careful consideration, I have chosen diagnosis B. So now I'm ready to move on. Now we can see that diagnosis B has opened up for me. So let's head into our discussion topic, where I'll start a new thread. post. Let's head back into our You Chose Diagnosis B. And now we can see that the assignment has opened up because I have met the release condition of authoring a post. So these release conditions are really flexible, and you can adjust them however you need to, based on quizzes, based on scores and grades, based on checklists or survey completion. The sky is really the limit as you customize your own learning paths for your students.